I'm great. Thanks a lot.
Do I say welcome back or bon voyage? Because you only just got back and you're heading back out again.
Yeah, pretty much. You can say either one, I guess, or both in one sentence.
Yeah. Where are you coming from and where are you heading to?
All right. Well, I'm coming back from El Salvador and Honduras, where I was volunteering with Oxfam for about 2 years and 3 months. And I'm going to be heading out to Colombia to start my own social project there.
Now, I don't think I need to necessarily tell you that those are two places that people don't tour around to. Those are usually places that people go to help out or something like that. What are you were with Oxfam, and according to Indiegogo here, you're on your way to Colombia to do more good.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, El Salvador, while I was living there, between El Salvador and Honduras, they were usually the number one and number two countries most dangerous for homicides in the world.
Right.
So there's not a lot of tourism. But I was working with people that were basically they were kind of displaced, or they were affected by the war, and they live in one of the driest areas of the country. And we were just basically helping them with food security, with water issues, and using arts and education to sensitize the people about the environment. As far as Colombia, I will be going to Medellin, which is known with a big stigma because it was a center for Escobar and all of the drug cartels down there.
I was going to say, there's a lot of drug cartel coming from there, yeah.
Exactly, but the people there are so motivated and they're working really hard to change the stigma of their city, and such positive energy in the place, and people just want to move on and do positive things, and the government's spending money on infrastructure. It's a good moment to be there, to be contributing to society.
Okay, now, I'm not going to lie. I watched your Indiegogo video, and I watched it and I said, this is interesting. This is a very, very interesting proposition that you're coming down with. But I have to also admit, I'm not sure that I get it 100%. Basically, what's the plan with your Indiegogo campaign?
Okay, well, basically what's happening is that I've worked in a lot of different countries, and I've been on contracts for 6 months or a year or 2 years. And because I'm there for a relatively short period of time, when you're talking about a development project, I never get to see my students graduate, or I never get to see the project reach its 100% fruition. So what I'm trying to do now is go to a place long-term where I integrate myself into the society. I'm listening to what other people are telling me they need from me, because I've always worked with food, and people are always asking me to help them set up new businesses. I actually travel around the world and learn to cook in 20 different regions, and I was living on less than $10 a day over 8 years. And with all of that stuff that I've accumulated a lot of knowledge that I couldn't possibly use it all on my own, even if I wanted to. And a lot of people that have this type of knowledge, they're not really looking to share it because they want to make profit out of it and have their own businesses. So I'm going and helping other people who already know how to cook but want to learn new recipes that are from other places that they don't have access to, so that they can start a more profitable business and serve healthier food to their community.
I've never heard of an Indiegogo campaign like this. With Brian Johnston. Brian Johnston is about to head over to Colombia and start an Indiegogo campaign where he, who has spent the last X number of years learning how to cook in 20 different regions on $10 a day, is going to go to Colombia and teach them how to cook different styles so that they can basically start up their own restaurants. Is that a big business in Colombia? Is it for them to open up a restaurant?
Well, I mean, I'd say that in most countries that are developing or emerging, one of the most fundamental businesses that people set up are small food stands, or if they want to work in a food court, for example, you have to have a unique product. Two people can't sell the same food in
Right.
food courts there. So, yeah, a lot of people are looking for new stuff to cook, and everybody needs to eat. So, yeah, they're always considering food to be the easiest way to go.
That's interesting. I think this sounds terrible. I know this was part of your journey, was recognizing the Western world and how, I don't want to say spoiled, but maybe how much we take for granted, and just realize that the fact that we can walk down the street and have our choice of Japanese, Chinese, Greek, European, whatever food we want is not necessarily the case as you move across the world.
That's very true. I mean, if you want to do it in Medellin, for example, where I'll be setting up my project, it is possible with a few restaurants that have ethnic food, but you're going to be spending $75, $100, $50 to eat, so it's way out of the range for the people that I'll be working with, the common person. And there is a school there, a university that actually teaches people to make food from other countries, and I visited the school and ate food there, and it wasn't bad. But it's targeted for another audience, not for the common person who also likes diversity and likes to try new things and can do it because the ingredients are there. It's not difficult to do. They just don't have the knowledge or exposure to doing it.
That's really interesting. As well, you figure, for example, if I want to go home and make a stir fry, I say I'll just look up the recipe online. But that might not be a luxury that a lot of the common people in Colombia would have, is to just look up stir fry, or they might not even be exposed to other food to know what else is out there.
That's exactly it. I mean, I've ever heard of stir fry, first of all. And if they have, they probably eat it in one type of restaurant where it's too oily or something like that.
With Brian Johnston is just starting up an Indiegogo campaign where he will be able to go over to Colombia and start up a bunch of, what do you call them? Do you call them kitchenettes? Do you call them small restaurants? What are you going to call them?
Yeah, I mean, I would just call them micro businesses for local food entrepreneurs.
I love that. And it's just such a, like I said, it's such a thing that we wouldn't even think about. And you, having traveled through 20 different regions, would definitely have noticed. And when did this come to you as an idea that this was going to be something that, hey, you know what, this is some good that I can do in the world?
Well, I mean, it all started back, I worked for a bank for 5 years in Canada, for Royal Bank, the biggest bank in Canada. And eventually, after a couple vacations to Mexico, the traditional all-inclusive resort, I realized I don't even know anything about Mexicans or Mexico. And a friend of mine invited me down to Peru. And there we stayed with a couple volunteers. And I saw how they'd learned to speak Spanish. They integrated into the community. They knew so much about the culture. And I said, I'd like to do something like this as well. So I ended up starting out volunteering with an organization in Africa. And from there, it just kept going, and I found ways basically to look for contracts that took my different experience in management and IT and food and culture and integrate all of those things so that I was able to link them all to my development work. And with time, it's just basically, it came down to what people were asking me for instead of me trying to impose something on them or working on a contract where I've got to kind of do organizational capacity building, but people are always asking me to do something else with them with food. So it just made sense to go straight for the food and give them what they're asking me for instead of trying to give them a solution that doesn't necessarily work for them when what they want is so simple for me.
If only politics worked that way, Brian. If only politics worked that way. Listen, I'll let you go here. Just give us the details. How do we link onto you?
Okay, well, if you go to the Indiegogo website, you can look up the name of the campaign is Food Train. That's FOOD TRAIN. And the link would be, I guess, indiegogo.com/@/food train. And from there, you'll see a bunch of different perks. People can, if they're interested in traveling, they can come down and visit me. There's perks that I'll host them for a week for free and provide food 3 times a day and let them participate in the project. Other stuff, I'm giving out recipes, or I can, if they're in the Toronto area, I can go and cook for them. There's all different types of things. I'm trying to keep the as you mentioned, I've been living on next to nothing, so I want to keep the costs down. The reason I'm raising funds is to buy a building that I'll renovate and work within that building to keep it sustaining. So it's the only time that I'll ever be asking for contributions, and every dollar is appreciated.
Really looking forward to the big success, and please, once you get this all up and running, you'll give us a call. I'd love to hear from you from Colombia.
Definitely, and I'll be posting everything on a blog and documenting the whole process so everybody can keep in touch, and I'm very good at keeping in touch with everybody that I come in contact with. Indiegogo
Food Train. It's the most unique Indiegogo campaign out there. Really appreciate it, Brian. Thank you so much for letting us know.
Okay.